want to stick $170 in there and have him just insta-call with aces. So here's where I'll turn up the gear. I'll raise it to 15. Let him know that I'm not fooling around. He's just calling, I don't know, maybe, I think he could have something like pocket tens, but I think something more like maybe jacks or queens is a lot more likely here. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a little value bet here of, I'll go ahead and go $30. I'll see what he does. I really am not looking for him to raise me there. Good. Now here's the question. It's like, do I value bet this river or do I just check? Because he could be playing tens very tricky, but I think he would have raised by now with pocket tens. I'm just going to go ahead and bet all in. Maybe he'll call with jacks or queens. I don't think he has aces. I don't think he has tens. He calls. Okay, it's a split pot. So I actually like my all in there on the river because that was going to be a very tough call for him to make. In fact, the way I played that, I made the whole hand very difficult on him because I was the aggressor. So the whole time I was the one controlling what was going on, putting him to the decisions. He wasn't putting me to any decisions. So on the end there, especially, I think his hardest decision was probably the end, the all-in on the end there. He probably had a little bit of a difficult decision. It took him a few seconds to make the call. It's because he didn't have really much information on what hand I had. Because the way he played that, he was just check, call, check, call, check, call. And he didn't learn much about my hand. So that hand right there was a good way to show the importance of, being the aggressor in a hand. Because you have control of things. When he called, I was pretty sure he was calling with queens, so I was disappointed to see it was a split pot, but, I'm happy with the way I played it, and that's really all you can ask for in a cash game, or any game for that matter. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm being a little sporadic here. Back to my conversation, the $11 rebuy. If you never rebuy or add on, and you're always in for just $10, your return on investment will be the highest, then it would be higher than it would be if you always were in for like, $70, $80, $100 every night. And your dollars per hour would not be higher, nor, let me think about this, let me clear my thoughts. Your dollars per hour would not be higher, nor would your expected value, like your expected profit. But your return on investment would be the highest. Only because you're in for so little in such a huge price pool event that, yeah, almost 95% of the time you're probably going to wash out. But when that time comes where you're able to finish in the money, then you're going to be getting back. Even like the bottom money finishes in this tournament is like usually $70. So even if you just barely squeak into the money, you're multiplying your money by 7. So sometimes I'll play this legitimately and I'll go crazy and I'll be in for $80, $90, $100. But at least at the current point in time, I don't really feel comfortable being in for that much. I still like to play it though, because I mean I've built up to well over 10,000 before at the first hour break, and that's a fine stack to have. Building up to an average stack with only being in for $10. That's a really great spot to be in. I'm not so sure I've ever cashed in this tournament while being in for just $10, but you got to realize the sample size we're talking here might only be like 10 or 12 times that I've ever actually done this. So. Pocket twos, your strategy has to change if you're not willing to rebuy or add on. So in this situation here with 2-2, I'm actually just going to fold because almost every pot's going to be getting raised on this table. Of course, this one probably won't to make me look like a fool, but I don't really want to limp with twos and then have someone raise and then I just have to fold. So why waste the 20 chips? There's no rush right now. Okay, over here you see we've got a few things going on. I've got ace-king. Let me go ahead and dump my hands up here on the cash games. Okay. This guy raises all in. That's obviously an easy call. He's got ace-6, so that's a good spot for me. Odds are I'll win. It's like a plus EV move, about 3,000 chips one here. Got a couple draws here to a split. I went ahead and hit the nut straight. Or obviously there's a flush out there, but that was a pretty standard play. Just make a standard raise with ace-king and wait to see what everyone else does. In this case, someone re-raised all in, and it was such a small re-raise that there was really no decision for me to make. All right, what do we have going on? Over here, you saw I limped with 6-6 and missed the flop. Go ahead and just play a pot here. I kind of like this hand. I wouldn't mind seeing a flop and seeing what happens. If I was able to flop bottom 2 pair, it's not a hand that I'm particularly in love with at this point, but I'll certainly bet this flop. And kind of hope. That doesn't bother me at all that I was able just to take it down right there. I'm going to go ahead and bet 1,000 here. I've got one of my cash game tables is beeping at me. That'll happen sometimes when you're 5-tabling, especially when your computer's lagging a little bit because of this recording software. I'll accidentally time out on the cash game table. But it's a cash game table. It doesn't really matter. Cash games are just raw expected value just being played out over time. There's no harm done if you sit out in a cash game to go to the bathroom for a few minutes, whereas with a tournament, there is harm done because you're passing up expected value. Not that I'm saying you should hold it, but it's two different animals. Where if I see that I time out in a cash game, it doesn't really bother me. Whereas a tournament, I definitely want to make sure I'm staying on top of all my tournament hands because those are significantly tied to playing every single hand. Up here in the cash game, this is kind of a hand that I like. I'll definitely limp for $1 to see this flop. Let me go ahead and fold this real quick and make my limp here. So you can see I'm not maybe it's because I'm used to it, but I don't feel at all over anxious that I'm 5-tabling right now. I don't feel out of control. All I'm really trying to do here to simplify what I'm doing, I'm going to just fold that. Normally I'd call, but all I'm really trying to do here is just look at each decision that pops up in front of me and just make the best decision. It's really not that hard. The decisions come at you a little faster, so you have to be comfortable with your ability to make a decision very quickly. But in general, it's 5-tabling or even 8, 9, 10-tabling. It isn't like that much harder than 1 or 2-tabling. It just means that you just have to make decisions faster. That's all it is. Everything just comes at you a little quicker. Pocket sixes. I'll probably make a raise. If someone had limped to me, I would have just limped behind. But since I'm opening the pot, I don't like to open the pot with a limp, especially in later position like this, especially with stacks this deep. So obviously this is going to be a small raise for me. Half trying to take down the blinds and half seeing what happens if a flop comes. Here I take down the blinds, so let's fold. Notice how I don't like making my decisions too far in advance on the tournament tables. Whereas the cash game, I'll pop up here and just fold my hand, like check fold. Like I'm not going to call any raise with Queen 7, so I can just hit the check fold button and not have to think about it. Whereas a tournament, I like to kind of wait till the action unfolds to me. Mostly because I like to know tournaments are so situational, whereas a cash game is pretty much, it's the same thing every time. Obviously it depends on, things change with how your table, how the dynamics of your table are going. But these cash games are pretty standard. No one's really doing anything out of line at all. I'm just grinding on the cash games, so I don't really see a problem with making some decisions a little early. I'm contemplating calling this. I probably would have called the 40 just to see if I could hit a club or a jack on the turn. But